Hey everyone, this is IMAXNation 1980 here with part 4 of my thoughts on the future of animation. And now that I've gotten 2011 out of the way, now we can move on to the future. And instead of going by year, I'm just going to go by production company. So, to start off, Pixar. Pixar has 4 projects on their release schedule right now. Brave, which is coming out next summer, June 22nd. Monsters University, which is coming out June 21st, 2013. And 2 untitled projects. One is coming out in November 27, 2013, and the other one is coming out May 30th, 2014. Now, I'm not sure what these films are going to be, these 2 untitled films, but I'm hoping that they're going to be original films. And I find it kind of weird that Pixar, for so many years have been announcing that they'll have 2 films in one year. Back in 2008, Newt and Brave, which was back then titled The Bear and the Bow, were supposed to come out in 2011, but then Newt was pushed back and ultimately canceled, and Brave was pushed to 2012 while Cars was moved forward to 2011. Cars was supposed to come out in summer 2012. Maybe that's why the film was rushed, because they didn't have enough time to work on it. So, I don't know what these 2 original projects are going to be. There are rumors that Pete Docter, the director of Monsters, Inc. and Up, had an idea about dinosaurs. I heard one of the ideas, supposedly it was called A Boy and His Dinosaur, and I heard it was just an idea about in the prehistoric times. So, who knows? Maybe the 2013 or 2014 film will be that. Hopefully, maybe they might be reviving Newt, because that'll be 3 years after Rio. I think Rio was one of the main reasons why Newt got canceled. I mean, John Lasseter seemed to imply that was the reason, but I really think Newt was also canceled because they were going through a lot of story problems at the time. Who knows? And I don't know if Newt seemed risky or not, but, Newt could have been right in line with, Ratatouille and WALL-E and Up, which are arguably on the more artistic side of Pixar. They were the more artsy kind of films, and that's really good. I mean, that was a great 3 years for Pixar. Just experimentation and trying new things and, trying new things with computer animation. So hopefully they'll bring back Newt, because I've seen all the concept art for that film, and it really could have been great. They could have, I mean, I'll give them time. I don't think it'll be dead in the dirt for, I think they'll bring it back. I mean, they started WALL-E back in 1994 as Trash Planet, and we didn't get that until 2008. In Cars, they started that in 1996 as The Yellow Car. And then, of course, when it was canceled, John Lasseter brought it back and it was originally titled Route 66, but it was renamed Cars, so to avoid confusion with the television show from the 1960s of the same name. But I really think Cars should have been called Route 66. I think that would have been a better title. I mean, you can disagree all you want. I always thought Route 66 would have been a better title for Cars. That's just me, though. But then again, Cars, because it's about cars, it's obvious. But, I don't know, Route 66 to me sounded like a better title. And, I don't know, not as obvious, but getting off topic here. But there are a lot of concerns over Pixar's, future. I mean, because of Cars 2 and Monsters University. But there are rumors of Toy Story 4. Tom Hanks kind of said something, revealed something about Toy Story 4, but I thought he was just, kind of like the slip of a tongue. He was kind of like joking or didn't know what he was saying. I mean, people tend to say that sometimes. I know Lee Unkrich said in an interview that 3 is going to be the final one, but John Lasseter, in a recent interview, I have to rewatch it or something, but he seemed to imply that it might be made. Now, if they have to make a Toy Story 4, please, don't make it about, the toys' adventures in Bonnie's room. Please. Leave that for the short films. I don't mind them making short films. They can still milk the franchise with the short films and various spin-offs, but please, don't make another film. And if you have to, make it a prequel about Woody or something. I don't know. Just don't make it at all. How about that? I mean, Pixar gets to do what they want. I mean, if it's going to support bigger projects, then fine, but I really don't want them to make a 4th film. Toy Story is perfect as a trilogy, and they don't need to make a 4th one. And if the 4th one turns out to be really good, I'll go see it. But I'm not excited about it. I'm not supporting it. I just simply want them to keep it as a trilogy. Your thoughts? Do you really want a Toy Story 3? Will you go see it? Are you going to support it? You know, I'm all ears, you know? Tell me whatever. I mean, it's your opinion. I personally don't support the idea. I personally don't want a Toy Story 4, even if it does happen, unless the film turns out to be magnificent. But who knows? And Cars 3, will they make that? I don't know. I think Disney will be happy with merchandise sales for Cars 2 in the next, 3 to 6 years or so. And if they have to make another Cars, just do a spin-off. I mean, that's what the movie Planes is for. That's a direct-to-video spin-off of Cars, and it's being produced by Disney Toon Studios, and that's actually good. At least Pixar is not involved with Planes. Disney can milk the series, they can milk the series dry, and Pixar won't have to attach their name to it. It won't hurt Pixar's brand name, because people will know Pixar just made Cars 1 and Cars 2, and none of the spin-offs that Disney is producing. If it goes that way. I mean, I know Pixar did the Cars Toons, Mater's Tall Tales, which were okay. Those were kind of fun, but little else. So, I wouldn't worry about Pixar's future yet. We need to see how Brave turns. We need to see what Brave is like first. That opens June 22nd, 2012. It's going to be in 3D. There's no reports on it being in IMAX 3D, though. It didn't say at the end of the trailer. It just said in theaters and Disney Digital 3D. Personally, I'm getting sick of 3D. It's really just a fad. I mean, it adds nothing. And I was kind of being there's a lot of wishful thinking. I was hoping that 3D would kind of grow. It was still in its infancy, but it's going nowhere. It's obvious. It's like it's been obvious for a year, but Hollywood just slaps it onto the movies just to sell more tickets. And in the recent months, family audiences have avoided films in 3D. And if you look at Cars 2 and Kung Fu Panda 2's box office and the 3D percentage, you'll see that most people are more interested in seeing it in 2D, especially like families, because they already pay so much for the tickets, and then for popcorn and stuff like that. It's ridiculous. So yeah, but if Brave is in IMAX, I will certainly see it in IMAX 3D or not, because I don't care if it's in IMAX 3D, as long as it's in IMAX. That's good enough for me. I love IMAX. I love the loudness of I just love the loudness and the clarity of the picture. It's just wonderful. Getting off topic. So, Monsters University. Billy Crystal was talking about it recently in an interview, and that too is going to be in 3D. And Billy Crystal said that it's going to be very funny. I read something about it's going to focus on Mike and Sully and college pranks and stuff like that. Hopefully Pixar does a good job with it. I mean, I know it's not going to be the same without Boo, but hopefully they'll make this film just a really good comedy, just a really good feel-good comedy, because that's what the first film really was, a feel-good comedy. And some might wonder, is Randall going to be in it? Maybe. Maybe in this film they'll establish that Randall was kind of like a bully, or kind of like a rival to them in the university. That would be cool. They kind of establish the backstory of his character. But one thing I want them to do with Monsters University is show us more parts of the monster world, because all we saw in the first film was Monstropolis. I was hoping that they would, what would the wilderness look like in the monster world, or other cities, or other towns, or, stuff like that. I was hoping they would show that in this film. Well, we'll find out when we see the first trailer or so. And of course, Billy Crystal and John Goodman are returning. Not sure about the rest of the cast, though, because they'll probably come up with a set of new characters. Now, you might think, Pixar is doing all these sequels and spin-offs and prequels. Well, here's the thing. Why in the world would Pixar all of a sudden just want to do a sequel or a prequel to Monsters, Inc.? And, I'm glad that they're making a prequel, because with a sequel, why would you do a sequel? The first film had a great ending. I think a sequel would be totally unnecessary. I mean, you can disagree all you want, but you see, I don't really think a sequel to Monsters Inc. would work. I would prefer, a prequel instead, because that ending is just wonderful. You can't top it. Although I saw, the plans for Disney's Circle 7. Remember Circle 7 back in 2004? They were the studio set up to make the sequels to the Pixar films without Disney, with that Toy Story 3 that got scrapped where Buzz Lightyear gets shipped to Taiwan. They had a plot where they reconstruct Boo's door and they go back in and it turns out Boo has moved or something like that and they go on a search for her. Yeah, I hope Pixar doesn't take any cues from that, because they said that they didn't look at Disney's version of Toy Story 3 either. And, you might think Pixar might be selling out, but if they were selling out, you'd already hear announcements for Finding Nemo and Incredibles sequels. And everyone's begging for an Incredibles sequel. I personally don't want one, but if Brad Bird has a good idea for it, then I will support it. That is, if he has a good idea for it. Because if you think about The Incredibles, came out back in 2004, so it's kind of a long wait for a sequel, but, if Brad Bird can make a really good sequel out of The Incredibles, then I'll support it. So, hopefully, Pixar will keep making original films, and if they have to make a sequel, then they should do it, when they have a good story. Cars 2 seemed to be, a rushed project, and hopefully Monsters University will be a worthy, prequel. Will be a very good prequel, and if it is, and Brave turns out to be a really good film, then I'm not worried about Pixar's future. I don't think they're going to sell out. I mean, I will worry when they announce a Toy Story 4, but I want to see what the next two original projects are before we can make any judgment. But, the future of Pixar, they should just stay the course. I mean, they can't be perfect forever, and Cars 2, it's better now, than later, because, ever since, like, Finding Nemo and such, people have been, some people have been wondering, when are they going to make their first flop? When are they going to make their first failure? Now, Cars 2 is not a financial failure. I mean, yes, it's outgrossed its predecessor overseas. Not by much, though. But critically, of course, it's their first mishap. And that's, a lot of people have been waiting for the day. Because, with a studio like Pixar, with their spotless, well, back then, their spotless track record, now with a little dent, a little chip in the, a little dent in the armor, then, and now, you start getting all this hyperbole, like how the mighty have fallen. I'm not going to say that yet. We got to see how Brave turns out, and we got to see if Monsters University is good. I'd say don't worry about Pixar right now, unless, you start seeing more sequels being announced. I remember there were rumors of a Finding Nemo 2 back in 2010 or so. I think Disney had set up a domain or something, or an internet, like a website, like a domain name. But I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think Pixar would easily... I mean, it would just be bizarre to see Pixar go from original films and then just go sequel heavy. I don't think that's going to happen. Well, I don't know. Tell me what you think. In the next video, DreamWorks, Blue Sky, Disney, all that good stuff. Although I'm not really finished with Pixar yet, but, it will be in the next part. So, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for part 5.